Hello and welcome to News Hour on Unity TV. Today is Thursday, 20th of July 2023 and it's equivalent to 2nd of Muharram 1445 after Hijrah. The headlines. Ganduje and Almakura battle for APC chairmanship as party governors meet behind closed doors over Adamu Omisore's resignation. Rechannel 8,000 naira palliative to pensioners, former Minister Nakande urges federal government. Nigerians will celebrate if Tinubu's election is nullified, says PDP. On the foreign scene, deadly shooting in Auckland hour before World Cup. And in sport, Aubameyang set to leave Chelsea for MISALI. And those were the headlines, and for details and more of the stories, I am Rukayet Sani Ibrahim. The battle for the national chairmanship of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC has now been narrowed down to former governors of Kano and Nasarawa states, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje and Senator Tanko Almakura, respectively, according to sources. It was gathered that some stakeholders from the North Central have put up a spirited fight to retain the seat in the zone. It was learned that barring any last-minute change in plans, President Bola Tinubu may have settled for Dr. Ganduje as national chairman. Some APC chieftains are said to be kicking against Ganduje on the grounds that the Northwest, where he comes from, already occupies the offices of the Speaker, House of Representatives and Deputy Senate President. Earlier at the National Secretariat of the party, there were speculations that Almakura will replace Senator Abdullahi Adamu, the erstwhile national chairman of the party. However, it emerged later in the day that Ganduje's name may have been dropped from Tinubu's list of ministerial nominees, ostensibly to pave the way for him to become the national chairman. A reliable party source disclosed that President Tinubu has settled for the former Kano State Governor Ganduje to replace Senator Adamu as the party's national chairman. Governors of the All Progressives Congress APC met behind closed doors Wednesday evening to discuss the state of affairs of the party following the resignation of its national chairman Senator Abdullahi Adamu and National Secretary Senator Iola Omisore. The pair stepped down on Monday, paving the way for the emergence of the Deputy National Chairman, not Senator Abubakar Kari, as the party's national chairman. The meeting was presided over by the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Senator Hope Uzodinma. Briefing reporters after the NWC meeting, Kari formally announced the resignation of Adamu and Omisore as the party's national chairman and national secretary, respectively. Kari further stated that in line with the constitution of the party, the deputy national secretary, Festus Fuanta, would serve as the acting national secretary of the APC. Meanwhile, a former APC national legal advisor, Muizbanire San, suggested that the resignations might have been forced rather than voluntary. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) said Nigerians would take to the streets in jubilation if the declaration of Bola Tinubu as president is invalidated. But in a swift response, the ruling party said the PDP is merely hallucinating, insisting that President Tinubu has the mandate of Nigerians and will function in the capacity as required by the Constitution. Pedro Obasake, the Director of Strategy and Research of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council (PCC), who addressed the press ahead of the judgment by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, also expressed confidence that the PDP believe in the ability of the judiciary to deliver a fair judgment that will be acceptable to the parties concerned. Responding, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Barrister Felix Moka, said the PDP or whoever that is thinking that the election of President Tinubu will be nullified is only hallucinating. Meanwhile, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariola, has denied that he had a telephone conversation with President Bola Tinubu and the Director of State Services, Yusuf Bichi, over the pending post-election petitions before the Presidential Election Petitions Court. Ariola said the judiciary had no plans to favor any of the petitioners and the respondents in the petitions pending before the court, especially Tinubu, the People's Democratic Party's PDP Atiku Abubakar, and the Labour Party's LP Peter Obi. In a statement by the Director of Information of the Supreme Court, Festus Akande, on Wednesday, the CJN said there was no iota of truth in the narrative in the social media. The federal government has been advised to rechannel the 8,000 naira about 12 million households earlier earmarked as palliatives for vulnerable Nigerians over the removal of all subsidy to pensioners. Former Minister of State for Information and Communication Alhaji Ibrahim Dasuki Salu Nakande gave the suggestion in a press statement issued in Abuja. Nakande, who is the national chairman of NITEL MTEL Pensioners Association, said pensioners represent the most vulnerable and neglected citizenry and can do with more attention from the federal government. The former minister said the pensioners are in dire straits because they can hardly fend for themselves outside the paltry sums they receive as pensions, adding that given this category of Nigerians, the palliatives will go a long way in increasing their purchasing powers and elongating their lives. The former minister commended the federal government for coming up with the initiative, saying the measure has shown that the current administration is a listening one which has the plight of citizens at heart. Following the increment in the pump price of petrol from 488 naira to between 568 naira and 617 naira per litre, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the Labour Party (LP) yesterday rejected the hike, describing it as an act of provocation by the All Progressives Congress APC-led administration against Nigerians. While the PDP accused the APC of extreme insensitivity and carelessness towards Nigerians, the Labour Party on its part said it was just the beginning of hard times Nigerians will be facing under the current administration. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, in a statement insisted that the 617 naira per litre of fuel is excessive, unacceptable and cannot be justified under any guise. On its part, Labour Party, in a statement by the National Publicity Secretary Obiora Ifo, said Nigerians do not deserve what they are getting from the present government. Efforts to get the special advisor to President TUNTBE on special duties, communications and strategy, Dele Alake, to react to the PDP and Labour Party proved abortive, but the presidency official who spoke on the condition of anonymity said the presidency maintains its position on fuel subsidy removal. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana-San criticized the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited for its adjustment of the pump price for premium motor spirit (PMS) or petrol from around 500 naira to 617 naira per litre. In a statement on Wednesday, the senior advocate of Nigeria noted that President Bola Tinubu, in his inaugural address in May, announced that his administration will govern the country in accordance with the rule of law. He cited a federal high court judgment which held that by the combined effects of the Petroleum Act, Price Control Act and the Constitution, the federal government must always fix the price of petroleum products sold across Nigeria. According to him, the federal government was dissatisfied with the judgment and filed an appeal at the Court of Appeal. He noted that even though the appeal has not yet been determined, it is undoubtedly clear that the action of the NNPCL is illegal and contemptuous since the judgment of the Federal High Court on the subject matter has not pulled aside by a higher court. The Nigerian Senate has urged employers of labor to de-emphasize age requirements as precondition for employment in the country because it generates socio-economic inequalities. The Senate resolution was sequel to consideration and adoption of a motion at plenary on Wednesday. The motion, titled Age Requirement Precondition for Employment in Nigeria, Urgent Need for Intervention, was sponsored by Senator Abba Moro, PDP Benue. Moro, in his debate, said age limit as precondition for employment violates Chapter 4, Section 42, Subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, which guarantees every citizen the right to freedom from discrimination. Moro said the sad situation had led many to commit age fraud by going all out to falsify their age to remain within the age limit of employability into the Nigerian civil service and all other employers of labor in the country. Senate, in its further resolution, urged the Federal Ministry of Labor, Employment and Productivity or the relevant agencies to restrict and discourage public and private employers from depriving millions of job seekers employment opportunities merely for not meeting age requirements. It urged the ministry to immediately draw up policies that relate to equality of opportunity and treatment in access to employment at all levels. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Wednesday granted an application by the federal government to protect the identity of the witnesses lined up to testify against an alleged terrorist collaborator, Tukur Mamu. The Kaduna-based cleric and publisher is facing trial in connection with the terror attack on a Kaduna-Abuja train in March last year, leading to the death of at least 8 persons with scores abducted for ransom. Mamu, who was arraigned in March this year, is facing 10 counts bordering on terrorism financing, among others. The defendant, however, pleaded not guilty to the charges. On Wednesday, counsel for the Attorney General of the Federation, D.E. Kaswe, took an ex parte application before Justice Nyang Eko for an order to protect the identity of the prosecution witnesses. Justice Eko, in a ruling, granted the motion as prayed. And on the foreign scene, a shooting has left 2 people dead in the center of Auckland, New Zealand, hours before the city is due to open the FIFA Women's World Cup. 6 other people, including police officers, were injured, and the gunman is also dead after the incident at 7:22 on a construction site in the Central Business District. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said the attack was not being seen as an act of terrorism. The tournament will go ahead as planned, he said. The public, he added, could be assured police had neutralized the threat and there was no ongoing risks after the incident on Queen Street. And in sport, Chelsea forward Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is set to leave the club after agreeing a deal with MISALI. The 34-year-old scored just 3 goals in 22 appearances for Chelsea after joining from Barcelona in a £10.3 million deal last September. The Gabon international has not been included in Chelsea's pre-season tour of the United States. Aubameyang has had a disappointing time at Chelsea and will leave with 12 months remaining on his contract. Meanwhile, Liverpool has agreed a deal in principle worth £12 million plus add-ons to sell captain Jordan Henderson to Saudi Arabian club Al Ittefaq. Former Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard was recently appointed as manager of Al Ittefaq. And with the sport news, we've come to the end of our bulletin for today. You can follow us on our social media handles at Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Unity Radio FM TV, respectively. You can also watch us live on the satellite decoder Badarsat, which is being watched in about 38 countries of the world free. You can also watch us and stream us live on our YouTube channel at Unity FM TV. I am Rukayat Sani Ibrahim. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of our programs. Do have yourself a lovely day.
Please pay attention, it starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. You know they're on a fast lane, but you've got business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It kill love, it kill dreams. It land people for jail. War against drug abuse.